Alright, I've got my Apple IIgs keyboard taken apart. The Apple IIgs keyboard is a little bit different from the one that was shipped with the Mac. Not by much, but, well, no, it is different. This keyboard features the full SnowWhite treatment. This is a real SnowWhite keyboard, or frameless keyboard. There is no frame to speak of around the keys. Let's see what I mean. So when the keyboard is together like this is it, pretty much. Whereas the Mac keyboard has a full frame around it, like that. The keycap profile is also very different on the Apple version. I don't recall this keyboard ever being included with a Mac, but it will work with a Mac. They are interchangeable. They will work with each other. But if you want to keep your 2GS original and you know, looking as it did when it was new, then you're going to want this keyboard. Unfortunately, this keyboard has a bit of a problem. It was made in 1988, but that's not the problem. The problem is the left side ADB port does not work correctly. What happens is you could be moving the mouse. No matter if you plug the main ADB cable into this port, everything will work fine, and then suddenly it won't. And then if you wiggle the cable a little bit, then things will work fine again. Or if you put the main cable over here, it's the mouse that has the problem. So I know it's not the plug, it's the port itself. I've already tried to resolder this port, thinking maybe it was a broken solder joint, but sadly that was not the case. So I've taken drastic measures. I now have to replace the port. And I'm going to take the port off of this perfectly good ADB keyboard. I went on eBay trying to find one for parts, and I didn't have very much luck. People are asking crazy money for these. As a matter of fact, this keyboard that I'm about to destroy is worth quite a bit of money. Probably 20 to 50 bucks, depending on the market and depending on who's looking. It's in perfect condition, and I feel like a criminal for ruining it, but I want my Apple II to work correctly. And I'm not going to just switch the keyboard over. I don't do things that way. I'm a stubborn bastard. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the ADB port. It's on a separate circuit board for some reason. We could use either one of these, by the way. It doesn't matter. This one just looks like it might be easier to get to. I'm going to get a bigger screwdriver. I'm just going to disassemble this keyboard. But the reality is, though, and this is how I think sometimes. I have to weigh the pros and the cons and figure out, okay, what makes the most sense. The true SnowWhite keyboard is harder to find. I actually tried finding another keyboard for the Apple IIgs, and I couldn't find one. Not in good condition, not work. You know, it was just not easy. They're not easy to come across. Let's put it that way. By themselves. They usually come with an Apple IIgs or even a Mac. Sometimes they get mixed up with Macs. Not that they committed any mischievous acts. I got stuck with a Mac. No, that made no sense. I have to do what I have to do. I have to save the rare keyboard for the less rare keyboard. Sacrifice the less rare keyboard. And not only that, but I happen to have this keyboard. I have no use for it, and hey, it's right for the picking. So I don't have to spend money to fix my Mac or my Apple II. Now, the first thing we need to do is verify that the pinouts are exactly the same. Well, the pinouts will be the same, but the spacing may not be. So we gotta just do a visual comparison, make sure that they are in fact the same. And okay, now we have to set up our soldering iron. What we're going to do is, just for practice, we're going to harvest the port off of the keyboard that we're taking it from. And then we're going to go ahead and remove carefully the damaged one. Now, I think I know why it's damaged. The keyboard that we're fixing came from a public school district environment where we do annual cleaning, and sometimes certain chemicals are used. Like the Apple IIs predate my era by about 10 years, and it's entirely possible that prior to my taking this job, they may have used some of the more improper and dangerous chemicals to clean computers, such as bleach. Even to this day, I've caught teachers using Clorox cleanup to clean their keyboards, and I politely assure them that they don't need to do that. As a matter of fact, I prefer they didn't do that at all. Because bleach can actually corrode contacts, and that's exactly what happened here, I think. So, yeah. That's what I think really happened here. And if I were to shrink down to the size of a molecule or whatever, and go inside there, I'd probably find a lot of corrosion. Now you might be thinking, why not use contact cleaner? Well, I'm just not convinced that contact cleaner is going to do the job. The port is probably also worn out from being connected and reconnected hundreds of thousands of times. So, okay. Let the soldering iron heat up. My lunch is almost ready, so I'm going to go eat that. We've got our hot iron ready to go. We're going to start by desoldering the shield, which is the outer portion of the connector. Try to get this in frame. There we go. So that's all done. Just wicks that solder right up. That's what they call it, solder wick. Or soldering, desoldering grid. Alright. You need a nice hot iron to get this to work. If you use a tip that's too small, it's not going to work. If the heat conductivity is bad, it's not going to work. It's pretty straightforward. Desoldering with braid, when it works nicely. When it doesn't work, it can be a frustrating endeavor. I know this from experience. It took me a while to figure out why it wasn't working for me. It was all about the tip I was using and the iron that I was using. The iron was never reaching its proper temperature, and I was losing all that heat to the connector and the board around it. So once you lose all that heat, it can't effectively do its job. And for some reason it's not. Sometimes using a little bit of desoldering braid, solder paste will help get this to work correctly. You don't want to melt the connector. That's what you want to avoid. You don't want to melt the connector. I'm going to grab some soldering paste. It'll make this job a little easier. Okay, the soldering paste sometimes helps the wick to absorb the solder. I'll show you what I mean. Alright. We're out of frame again. Alright, here we go. Makes a lot of smoke though. And burning your fingers are basically a rite of passage. Burnt fingers will happen. See, that just took it right in. Boom. And we're off and running. Now we're going to get the... there we go. Yep, took it right in. There we go. Solder paste. Buy some. You'll like it. Alright. You can just see, if you have just the right conditions, you're going to watch that solder just flow right away. And it's a magical thing, you know, it really is. You may need to apply more solder flux or paste. Let's get the other connector off and see what we're dealing with here. Fortunately, the other connector comes off without any hassle, because it's located, let me try to get this in frame here. It's located in an area where I don't have to disassemble the whole damn keyboard to get it out. I'm going to take my solder flux, I'm going to just dab it around there. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? Can you see me now? Alright. Only they could see me now. The solder is going to look like it's boiling, and that's a good thing. That means you've got just enough heat. And these fumes, by the way, are a good way to get cancer. So having a fume extractor, most people don't have them, would be a good thing. I have some fans going around the house. It's not really working because I'm located in my kit. Oh wait, I've got one right behind me. Vortilex. Turn that on low. Let's get some air moving around here. Fume extractors are definitely a good thing to have. Trust me. Makes this job a lot safer for you. Alright. It feels weird putting this much effort into a 30-year-old computer, but it's so worth it in the end, you know? Especially since the device is actually increasing in value at this point. You know, the Apple II market is still a little on the low side of what I would think would be, you know, good, but because it's such a hot collectible right now, it's almost totally worth doing this. Preserving these machines for other generations to enjoy is what we do around here. That's what we do. Me, V Westlife, UXW Bill, you know, people like Louis Rossman, they're more interested in preserving modern equipment because it pays the bills. You know, that's how he pays his rent, by fixing MacBooks and MacBook Pros. So, you know, at this point, the connector should be free. We've gotten all the solder that we're going to get out of there. Zoom out here, and we're going to... I'm actually considering doing the other one too, because it's also not in the greatest of condition, I'm sure. So let's compare them side by side, and we'll see if they really are the same part. They are the same part. They're exactly the same. So what we're going to have to do to this other one here is we're going to have to clip off the two back leads on the shield so that they don't interfere with anything. Got a pair of clippers. I'm going to go get those right now. Okay. So we need to snip off these back two legs. Then we're going to straighten out the remaining legs. I'm going to clean up the holes first. This is something you always want to do when soldering through hole. Even, of course, it's definitely important if you're doing surface mount. But through hole stuff, you want those holes to be as clean as possible so that the component can slip right in very nicely without any binding or hesitation. And what you're going to do to clean these up is basically you're putting the soldering iron tip against the ribbon, and then you're rubbing it against the actual hole itself. That's how you do it. Okay. one's which. I can tell these apart because if I look down into the into the pinholes of the old one, I see nothing but black. Now this one here, nice and shiny in there. That's how I know it's good. Okay, this part's ready for transplant. Just gonna pop it in there. Now would be a good time to use flux remover if you had some. Go. Parts in place. We're going to now bend over the... No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just use solder to hold them in place. And I brought solder down with me. There it is. I always use leaded solder. Always, always, always. Especially when you're working with older stuff. It's not like a problem, it just flows so nicely. Lead-free solder sucks. It really does. I've never found a good use for it. Okay. We're going to preheat the joint. We're going to slide some solder in there. Okay. Don't use too much, but don't use too little. Something you actually have to get the feel for. You know, as you start doing projects like this, you get the feel for it. Once you get the feel for it, you're good to go. Okay. I've done more soldering than most people have. Well, I don't say it. I mean the average person, you know, because I did a lot of this work for Anatech, and it was all through hole, my favorite kind. Because it's so much easier to do. Alright. Then we're going to clean our tip with a clean sponge, a wet sponge, damp sponge. Don't worry about burning the sponge. The moisture will prevent that from happening. And this tip is ready for another day. Okay. We're done. Surgery was a success. Now we got to check it for functionality, which I'm not concerned about at all. I'm not at all, not even remotely concerned. I have no expectation of failure on this one. This was a pretty easy, straightforward swap, and I'm expecting full cooperation. Now I may actually just do the other one too. You know, why not? Why not do it? You know, I'm starting to wonder about that. Let's do it. Fuck it, let's do it. We're going to replace both ports. So we're going to get the donor port off the other one. Heat up the iron again. We'll do this again. We're here. Might as well just do them both. Because, you know, whatever caused the other one to fail is probably not far away on the one that does work, you know what I mean? But you look down into here and you see really no shiny copper. It's just dull and putrid and nasty. So, put that in the circular file bin. We're going to get some solder paste all up in there. Get it nice and wet. And we're going to let this heat up a little bit. Practice makes perfect, so I see no reason why we can't just get them both done. Okay. Get some braid. Make sure I have enough of this stuff to do the whole job. It looks like I should have just barely enough. This roll is getting small. Really small. This was an easy swap, so hoping the other one goes just as smoothly. We're going to start off with the shield like we did before. Now, some of you might have seen or might have owned, you might even still use a Radio Shack bulb type desoldering tool. Let me tell you about those. I hate them. I mean, they work. But when I was learning to solder, that's what I had. I had one of those, and I had an iron. My dad got me for my... No, he got it for me for Christmas of 1994. As a matter of fact, the multimeter that my parents got me that day, I still use. It's a little Radio Shack clamshell looking thing. And it has never let me down. Except for the time when it let me down, and I had to take it all apart and put some dielectric grease and clean all the contacts and stuff to make it work again. But it still works. It still does the job. Anyway, the bulb type desoldering tools I have grown to despise because they just don't work very well. I mean, they can work, but they don't. I've never had luck with them. Never. That's my piece on that. It's my manifesto, if you will. They suck. Almost done. I love the smell of burning plastic. See, when this braid gets hot, it burns the edge of the container. I love this new iron, man. I bought this at Radio Shacks. We're going out of sale, but just kidding. Clearance extravaganza. Oh, shit. Yeah. I don't remember what I paid for it, but it wasn't a lot. It was really cheap. But it's now my favorite iron of all time. Okay. Let that cool so we don't burn our damn fingers. Alright, let's see. Get this in frame. Let's see how loose it is. Come on, there we go. Just rocket free. And there we go. With that in the round circular file cabinet, we're going to straighten out our dog legs. Out of frame? I'm out of frame. Okay, there we go. Snip off the back legs. Yep, gotta do that. Okay. I think one of them just landed on the coffee table. Wear safety glasses. You'll thank yourself later. Okay, just like the other port, this one here, you look down inside, it's not really shiny, it looks kind of dull and depressing. So we're going to just take it off. Why am I using the tilt adjustment when I should be using the pan adjustment? There we go. Put my finger here. Where are we? There we are. Okay. Still recording? Good. Solder paste. Wait. Ah, I almost caught myself there. I almost took the wrong one off. Don't do that. Don't take the wrong one off. It's gonna really cramp your style. Alright, let's dress our desolder braid. We'll get all the bad stuff off. Trash. I think I have just enough braid to finish the job. Okay, get this in frame. Okay. Oh god, that smells awful. The fan's not really helping. It's in the wrong position. That's alright. I'll probably develop lung disease anyway. All that sweet cancer that's in the air today. I'm pretty sure cancer is now airborne. You can get it just by breathing. This is one way to get it, though. Totally one way to get it. Alright. Yeah, you can't really see anything, can you? I'm trying. Now remember, this connector that we're pulling right now, that has nothing really wrong with it. I mean, it does work. But because we have one to put in its place that doesn't have any signs of corrosion or abuse, we're just going to swap it out anyway while we have it apart. Kind of like when you have your car in for an oil change and they decide to do the air filter at the same time, whether it needs it or not. Well, not exactly the same, but... Alright, rock it away. And remember what I said about dressing and cleaning the holes before you put the new part in? We're going to do that right now. So take some fresh desoldering braid. There's actually a lot more on this roll than I thought. I'm going to really zoom in on this because I want to show you exactly what the holes should look like. Come on. It's like playing with a Ouija board here. Abacus. Okay, here we go. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in a little more. No, we're not. Just kidding. That's good enough. No, it's not. Focus. I'm trying to do it manually and it's not liking it, so let's go away a little bit. That's better. So I just want to show this again. We're just going to go like this. No need to put any more flux on it. We're just cleaning it off now. We're removing any excess solder. That's what our goal is here. Okay. Now we've got our donor part. Is this it? Nope. Here it is. Yeah. Let's see if we can. Unfortunately, you can't get in there with the camera, but I see nice shiny metal contacts in this one, and I see nothing in this one. So that's indicative of a worn out port. Worn out, corroded, shot out, whatever. Alright. I'll pop her back in there. Very gently, very carefully. Make sure to get it down right flush with the board where it's supposed to be. Good. And we're going to get some solder. I accidentally took some solder off of a contact that wasn't supposed to be desoldered, so I'm going to fix that too. Right here. If you ever bridge a joint, you can fix that. It happens. This is really messy. It would be nice to have some flux remover here, but I don't have any, so I'm not going to bother. But it's done. It's done. Okay. Now it's time for reassembly and testing. We have placed both ADB ports on this poor little keyboard for 1988. And where's the bottom pan? There's the bottom pan. Drop it back in there. So I've got to bend these back dog legs that don't go through the board. They've got to be bent around. I'm going to use my Leatherman tool as an anvil. And we're going to do that to both of them. Okay. Let me show you what I mean. So on the other keyboard, these little back legs, these side legs here that hold the shield in place, they went through the board. On this keyboard, they don't. Any questions? It's not because the part is different, it's because the board doesn't have provisions for it. For whatever reason, Steve Jobs decided that... Actually, no, it wasn't Steve Jobs, because he was gone in 1986. But for whatever reason, they decided, once again, function over form, or vice versa, and they made the board smaller by about 1/16 of an inch by not doing that. It's Apple. What do you want? That's what Apple does. Apple's going to do what an Apple's going to do. So, the ports look fairly good. They're happy and clam. Happy as a clam. They're happy and a clam? Is that what I said? They're happy and they're a clam. Alright. Screw it in together. Keyboard uses some really big screws. Not like anything I've ever seen before on a keyboard. Okay. Now for testing. We've got nice, shiny, happy ADB ports. Okay. Now for testing. Plug in my input and my mouse. These ports are a little crooked. Not sure how that happened, but they're not perfectly straight on, but okay. Here we go. Trying to think of it where the original ones is straight. I don't know. They're a little cockeyed, but not by much. Not by much. I could, you know, if I wanted to straighten them out, I could do that. It wouldn't take much. So far we've fixed the battery and the keyboard. I think we're good. This one. Alright. Mouse works nicely. I'm going to wiggle the port a little bit, make sure, no issues there. And I'm going to wiggle the other one, because if that one gets disconnected, it's also going to be messed up. Everything's working so far. Let's open up a, see if there's a text editor in here. See what we have for desk accessories. I guess we have nothing. Okay, let's go back. Desktop 1. So far so good. I think we're okay. Let's open up the calculator app. mean accessory. No, okay. System utilities. There's no like text editor in here. Okay. Just testing the keyboard, make sure it works. It seems to be working okay. At least the arrow keys work. So I'm going to call this one done. This is a completed repair. It was a success, and I couldn't be happier. So, thanks for watching.